This is breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.
Metropolitan Police Department. And I want to thank you all for being here today, and we're going to provide you and the community with an update on the senseless beating investigation and now a murder investigation where the victim was 17-year-old Jonathan Lewis, and this occurred on November 1st, 2023. And I want to take this moment to just also recognize the work that the members of our homicide section have done once again to bring closure to a senseless crime that occurred in our community. I'm here today to announce that we have 8 suspects in custody for the murder of Jonathan Lewis, and those 8 suspects will be charged with the crime of murder. Our work in this investigation is far from over, and we need all of your help as we continue with this investigation. And the reason I say that is many of you and many people in the community have seen the violent video that has circulated throughout our community via social media. And if you or your child or somebody you know has seen that video and recognizes anybody that may have been a participant in this senseless crime, you need to get a hold of us and our homicide section, like I said earlier, as we further our investigation. And on a personal note, I want to say, just as a parent and as a member of this community, is the video that's out there and the videos that we have mentioned throughout this investigation and that you've seen reported in the media, they're extremely disturbing. And this should be a reminder to all of us to have those difficult conversations with our children and remind them that their actions have consequences. Their actions have lasting consequences. Their actions have life-altering consequences. So to provide you with the further details of this investigation and the arrests that were made today is Lieutenant Jason Johansson from our homicide section.
Thank you, Sheriff. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jason Johansson, the Homicide Lieutenant with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. My goal here today is to provide you a brief overview of the initial investigation when we responded up until the point of the arrest of the 8 subjects today during our operation. Let me start off with our response. On November 1st of 2023, the Clark County School District Police Department, they responded to a report of a battery as a result of a fight. Initially, it came out at Rancho High School. Very quickly, in the initial preliminary investigation, it was determined that the actual fight occurred in the alleyway at 1308 21st Street, which, as you can see on the map to my left, is directly east of Rancho High School in close proximity. And it was learned that this fight occurred right after school had let out at Rancho High School, and it is believed that all members that were involved in this incident, whether it be as witnesses, suspects, and victims, were attendees of Rancho High School. We also learned that how the victim ended up back at Rancho was that after the fight occurred, he was laying unconscious and unresponsive in the back alley, and a citizen nearby saw him, began attending to him, and carried him back to Rancho High School, which is what prompted the initial 911 phone calls related to this incident. Following medical's response, he was transported to UMC, where very early on in the investigation it was determined that Mr. Lewis had sustained non-survivable head trauma, and that was when the homicide section responded, and we took over this investigation due to the extent of his injuries. As you know, the video that has been shared widely on social media, which I am not going to show today, but many people have seen it, is very graphic and, in my opinion, is very void of humanity. What you see in the video, though, is approximately 10 subjects kicking, stomping, and punching our victim, Jonathan, as he's on the ground, not defending himself, until the point where he becomes unconscious. During our investigation, we quickly learned that the fight was actually over a pair of stolen wireless headphones and possibly over a stolen marijuana vape pen from incidents that occurred earlier in the week, and that as a result of those stolen items, which were taken from the victim or the victim's friends, they had agreed to fight with several of the subjects in the back alley where the fight occurred. After school let out, all parties then walked to that back alley where, as you see in the video, our victim removes his clothing, engages in a fight initially with one subject, and the minute the punch is thrown with that person, 10 subjects immediately swarm him, put him into the ground, and begin kicking, punching, and stomping on him. Over the course of this investigation and in close coordination with Clark County School District Police Department and Rancho High School administrators, we were able to quickly identify many of the subjects involved in the fight from the video that was taken and shared off of social media. As a result, we have identified approximately 10 subjects that were involved in the murder. 8 of those subjects we have been able to positively identify. On November 7th, our team was advised by family members that our victim had sustained, was currently medically brain dead, at which point in time they had made a decision to donate his organs. And yesterday, the victim was, an autopsy was performed by the Clark County Coroner's Office on the victim, where his cause of death was blunt force trauma homicide. As I mentioned earlier, as a result of our investigation, we were able to identify 8 of those 10 subjects. And based on that investigation, we conducted an apprehension operation this morning with the FBI Criminal Apprehension Team and members of our Major Violence and Narcotics Bureau. During that operation, we were able to arrest all 8 subjects, and we executed 9 search warrants at various residences throughout the Las Vegas Valley. During those search warrants, detectives were able to obtain numerous clothing from the residences that the suspects wore during the attack on Mr. Lewis. All subjects that were arrested in this incident range from the age of 13 to 17. All are juveniles, and all were booked into the Clark County Juvenile Hall on charges of murder. The case will now be turned over to the Clark County District Attorney's Office, who we've been in close coordination with, and we'll go through the normal steps of determining, going through the normal steps for them to be certified as an adult. As the undersheriff mentioned in this investigation, it is far from over. We've identified 8 of the 10 we believe are responsible for the murder, but through our PIO office, we will be pushing out additional pictures of 2 individuals that we have yet to identify that participated in the incident, and with the requesting assistance from the community with identifying them. I also want to secondly ask anybody in the community that if you know anybody who witnessed this, if you see video of this from social media, please don't just believe we have it. There's a high likelihood that there's additional video out there that we don't have. I encourage anyone, if you have that video, to please contact the LPD homicide section, or if you wish to remain anonymous, that video can be shared through Clark County, through Crime Stoppers in Nevada. That information is very necessary in investigations like this and has helped us greatly in this investigation. In closing, I just want to thank my team for all the investigative efforts that they did on this case. Our homicide section does amazing work, and they were able to get it done very rapidly. Additionally, in closing, I just want to second the undersheriff's remarks. If you're a mentor with youth, if you're a parent, you have to assume that your kids have seen this video. It has been shared widely on social media. Don't put your head in the sand. Please talk to your kids about it and explain. People need to know right from wrong, and that this act was heinous. And as I mentioned earlier, hopefully kids can learn from us so we don't have another incident such as this. With that, I'll take any additional questions you may have.
I have a question. Can you please explain to our audience? This happened on November 1st and took until November 14th to arrest remain. And some people assume that the arrest is going to happen right away. It was all caught on video. Why weren't they just arrested? Can you explain that to the audience?
Yeah, and gladly, and great question. I'm glad you asked it. So when we're talking about an investigation like this, I've mentioned before, one of the biggest aspects of us doing the investigation is this is a highly emotional video. Anybody that watches that has parents, it is emotional for all involved. But remember, for us to go arrest somebody for the charge of murder, we have to be right. We have to make sure that we have positively identified who those people are. It's one thing for someone to say, I believe that is such and such. We have to actually physically be able to put that person there. If you watch that video, many of them have hoods over their faces. Many of them have their faces obscured during the attack. Our job is to go in there and be able to prove in court beyond a reasonable doubt that each one of these people are the people depicted in the video, not someone that looks like them, that it is actually them, which is actually the second part of our investigation, not second, the closing part of our investigation today with the search warrants, getting the clothing that people were wearing during the attack. We've also recovered numerous cell phones. All these items go into that investigation. And that is all the things that the investigators of crimes like this, or any crime for that matter, have to do to be able to get a case in court and prove beyond a reasonable doubt.
You said that this was a highly emotional video. This video has taken on national attention, and one of the questions that folks nationally have been asking is whether or not this was a hate crime. Is this the case? If not, what factors lead to that determination?
To me, you have to follow the evidence. And the only thing I'll say to that is there is no evidence at this time that this is a hate crime. And one thing I can assure you is if this was a hate crime, there would be someone getting arrested for charges related to it being hate crime. Right now, I have no evidence at all that this is a hate crime. It is a murder, which in my opinion is a very heinous crime in and of itself, but I do not have evidence of a hate crime.
Can you go over again what exactly led to this fight? So it was stealing wireless headphones as well as a marijuana vape pen. Were these items stolen from Lewis's friend, as his dad is telling everyone at this point?
What we were initially told, and what we believe still to this point, is that the initial fight was going to be between his friend, which if you watch the video, he's wearing like tan pants. That at some point in time, Lewis went into the back alley with him, and that then the fight occurred between Lewis and the subjects that were believed to have stolen the wireless headphones. During the course of investigation, we started learning additional details that there might be also a connection to some stolen, like marijuana vape pen or some type of marijuana a device used to inhale marijuana.
And then, out of curiosity, going into that neighborhood, neighbors have mentioned that that alleyway is very prone to student fights happening. Is Metro or CCSD PD taking any action to try and mitigate that area with students congregating and potentially fighting?
I can let Clark County School District PD go over what their response is to that back alley. What I can tell you is that, in speaking with our downtown area command commander, they have had an increased presence down there in that alley. But I'm personally not aware of prior police responses to that back alley. But the Clark County School District PD, if you have one to answer the rest of that.
Hello, Mike Blackeye, Chief of the Clark County School District Police Department. That area is, yes, there has been fights there, but there's also been fights all around that school, in parks, in other neighborhoods, things like that. But that's typical of most of our schools, especially our 30 high schools, where certain students don't choose to fight on campus because of the repercussions. So they'll choose to take their issues off campus, and this is a typical example of that. That particular area, and all areas, are patrolled by our patrol force, and that high school and all of our 30 high schools have two campus officers that patrol those schools, or their assigned school each day. And there were two school police officers on duty that day.
Where were they when that fight was happening?
They were patrolling the campus.
Why did they see that fight? Where were they patrolling the campus? I mean, how far away from campus can they patrol, or do they patrol?
They patrol where incidents lead them, typically. So if they have information that there's going to be a fight, they'll be there. In this particular incident, there was no information that there was going to be an incident that was going to occur in the apartments next to the school.
This is Joshua with Channel 8. I just have a question. Do any of these juveniles have previous records?
I couldn't say that. I don't. I'm not aware of the information related to the suspects.
And also, can you just last week there was also an incident in Hardy Mills where a body was found. Can you just provide any sort of reassurance for parents who have kids that go to CCSD about safety?
Metro also investigated that incident, so they can speak to that incident. But as far as our police force and of how the school district provides safety in schools, we do have 194 police officers that cover our 370 schools each and every school day. And obviously that's not enough. However, 40 of them are on patrol each and every day. And that's when school starts. Incidents that occur overnight, we do not have that force working. for incidents that occur, particularly for a Harney incident like that.
What is CCSD police doing differently after the incident in Rancho High School?
Obviously, an incident like this is going to impact the school community, specifically Rancho, the students, obviously the staff, and parents. And just not parents of Rancho, but parents all over Clark County. I've received calls basically stating that it could have been their child. What we've done, obviously, we're partnering with our agencies like we always do, Metro, North Las Vegas, which is very close border-wise to Rancho. And we're providing extra coverage at Rancho and other sites. We're also providing additional service to that school. And I can't speak of that right now.
When you say extra coverage, does that mean more than one officer?
Typically, incidents at school happen in the mornings, at lunchtime, and after school. So those coverages increase for those hours of the school day.
And how is CCSD PD responding to the threats teachers, administration at Rancho High School have been receiving since this video went viral?
Again, I can't speak of that, but there are additional resources provided to that site to address those issues that are occurring.
Were the suspects apprehended at Rancho High School?
I can't speak of where the
There were suspects apprehended at numerous locations across the valley, so I don't have every last individual location where they are apprehended, but I'm not aware of one apprehended on school grounds right now. No.
You are not?
No, I'm not aware of.
Thank you, everybody.
So this is the second
Thank you.
video saying that she's committing like hours for life. So you're talking about handling approach. What does it say about just children in Las Vegas? Are they out of control or what?
I don't want to get into surmising what I believe is going on with the youth. I don't want to believe that this is what everyone is doing. I want to believe that this is a small subset of the population. Thank you.
You've been watching breaking news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal, sponsored by Michael Gaughan's South Point Hotel, Casino, and Spa.